start of the pandemic, I bought a PS4. I got obsessed with the game Warzone. When I started producing the podcast Radio Man and saw there was a scene with one of the characters playing it, I thought this would be fun. So my challenge was this: how do I recreate the sound of a video game? And given it's an audio-only podcast, how do I make it true to the real game? Something not just gamers will recognise, but anyone, given we had no visuals to back it up. Well, the answer's kind of in another video. That video. In it, this guy Scump wins $100,000. He doesn't know this, but I used his video as the basis for my sound design. If you're still here, let me show you how. Everything starts with the script. As well as becoming familiar with the story, I'm reading through for chances to craft something interesting, whether that's score or sound design. Most podcast drama conversations occur in pretty normal locations. Kitchens, living rooms, places without room for experimentation. But not this scene. I took that Scump video and replaced all his in-game sounds with my own. Let's take a listen to his original.
Let's get it done. Oh my God!
I'm gonna break down how I remade the audio sound by sound, and I started with the very first gunshot. I added a distant echo. You can see the green line showing the sound moving from one speaker to another as the character turns. In the podcast version, there is no video, so I didn't need to go too crazy on this stuff. I added a series of impacts as our character gets shot. And all together. When I got to this bit, I noticed the game had no sound for pulling the grenade pin. Typically, you're only presented with audio information you need, or is useful. You don't need to look to see if you've put the armor on, because the audio has confirmed it. I am a bit baffled there's no grenade pin sound though, because it's pretty satisfying, so I've added it. Next, the sound of metal impacts as the grenade bounces down the hole. And I sweetened that with the sound of a flagpole being hit, together sounding like this. Alright, the actual explosion. A burst of air, the whoosh of a flamethrower, the smash of a neon tube, and most importantly, for impact, a basketball being bounced. All together from the top of that scene. Let's look at some of the background stuff. I found this recording from the woods in New England and had it running throughout. It stays pretty consistent, but I timed it so that when we eventually get into the forest, the birds are louder. At the start, I also had this truck moving past the player. Again, this is information that makes the audio more interesting, but wouldn't necessarily work in the real game. I added a tinnitus ring as the first bullets are shot. Classic. I mean, it would be scandalous not to put that in, right? Let's look at some of the footsteps, first ours and then the enemies. Alongside the running, I've got the gear and the guns kind of bouncing up and down. Let's see where we're at. First the original, then my remake. Okay, the parachute. First the chute opening, and the chute flapping in the wind on the way down. I'm pretty sure in the real game, whether you're jumping from a roof or from a plane, they use the same parachute sound, looped, for the whole time the character's in the air. Even with this non-perfect loop, you can hear that it would work alongside a visual. The initial download of Warzone was over 100 gig. It got me thinking, I wonder how long the actual audio file is that gets looped. It makes sense they'd use the smallest file possible, but big enough so it doesn't sound like a loop. I reached out to Michael Casely, the former principal sound designer at the studio that co-developed a bunch of these Call of Duty games. He estimates the full file would be between 10 and 20 seconds long. So there you go. I'm pretty sure no one cares about this other than me. If you do care about this, let me know in the comments. Let's get back to the video. Next, we've got the final battle. I lined up the audio to occur after the shot is seen, because physics. I added some bullet flybys and a tree impact. Even though the podcast is done and released, I noticed the bullet sound was triggered after the tree is hit. So given I talked about perfectionism in an earlier video, I thought I should fix it. I lined up that puff of smoke with the audio. I added some footsteps, moving them to align with the visual, and layered it with some higher pitched foliage, twigs and grass stuff. And an explosion for fun, and a noise as the player gets hit, and the injection of health, and another grenade explosion plus echo, and a bunch more bullets. Alright, it's done. Let's take a listen. First the original, then my remake.
Let's get it done. Oh my God!
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, leave a comment.